Okay, so I'm going to explain manifestation in a way that makes the most logical sense to me. Because if you are like me and you have more of a rational, analytical mind and you have a hard time accepting things if they don't make sense to you, then I really think this video will help you understand why manifestation works and why it sometimes doesn't work. And I think through understanding this, you'll also understand why you may have doubt when you're manifesting and how to handle that doubt and basically overcome it. So how this makes sense to me is basically understanding that manifestation is just karma. What is karma? Karma, the word itself, means action. And every single moment, you are taking some action in some way, right? And it may not necessarily be physical action. It can also just be mental action or verbal action or energetic action, like some form of action, whether that's through your thoughts, your words, where you're directing your attention to, your focus, or your physical action. Like all of these are forms of action. And all of these are causes for some future effect. Every single time you're taking some action, you're essentially planting a seed, and that seed is inevitably going to play out in the future as some resulting effect. And this is basically karma, right? Karma is all about cause and effect, cause and effect. And that's also what manifestation is. Manifestation is just cause and effect, cause and effect. You are always manifesting. Whether you're doing it consciously or unconsciously, you're always at every moment planting a new seed that is going to result in some future effect, and that is going to be your reality in the future. So if you're trying to manifest something and you're not seeing it in your reality, it could just be that you are not planting the seeds that are actually going to result in that thing manifesting. Because both karma and manifestation don't give you what you want. It gives you what you are planting, what you are reacting to and directing your energy to. And I want to share this thing that I heard that really made this click for me. And that was when I was at the 10-day Vipassana retreats, the teacher said something that really resonated with me. He said, if you plant seeds of misery, misery will follow you around everywhere. And if you plant seeds of happiness, happiness will follow you around everywhere. Like you cannot be planting seeds of misery and expect happiness. It just doesn't work that way, right? That's not how cause and effect works. That's not how karma works. And that's not how manifestation works. You need to be planting seeds of happiness in order to receive happiness. So if you want to manifest something, you need to be planting the seeds that are in alignment with that manifestation. How this happens at the most fundamental level is understanding the mechanism behind this, which all comes down to your reaction patterns. What you react to creates your reality. Your reactions are literally creating your reality. Like in every moment, there is some, objective reality. And every single person in that objective reality is going to be experiencing a different inner reality. And that is because they're all going to be reacting to the same data, the same reality in a different way. And whatever they react to, that is going to be planting the seeds for their future reality. And it's not just what you're reacting to, it's how you're reacting to it. Because if you are reacting to something, that is you basically validating this thing's existence in your reality. If you react to it, it means you have observed this thing, and that's what brings this thing in your reality. This thing cannot exist in your reality if you don't even observe it, if you don't even react to it. And I think of it like, that quote, the opposite of love is not hate, but indifference. That's exactly the idea here. It's that if you hate something, or if you're like resisting something, or if you love it, like either way, you're feeding energy into this thing, and that is reinforcing its existence in your reality. But if you don't react to it, and you just kind of ignore it, and you feel very indifferent towards it, you are not feeding any energy to this thing, and therefore it has no power in your reality. Like you're basically not validating its existence in your reality. So that lack of energy is basically a lack of action. It's a lack of a seed that's being planted, and so it's not going to result in an effect in the future. You're not generating any karma here if you're not feeding this thing any energy. But if you are feeding the thing energy, whether it's positive or negative, and negative can be like a resistance to this thing existing in your reality, if you're trying to suppress this thing and you're trying to just really try to make this thing not exist in your reality, that's still you feeding this thing energy. And that is continuing to plant the seeds that's going to result in some future effect that's going to continue allowing this thing to exist in your reality. So if you want something in your reality or you don't want something in your reality, then the way to do this is basically changing your reaction to what's happening in your reality. And if this thing is in alignment with what you want, then you want to react to it in a way where it basically reinforces that this is in alignment with your reality. And if this is something that you don't want in your reality, then you need to not feed this thing energy by just ignoring it in a way where you're kind of indifferent to this thing. And okay, I know this might seem very hard, right? Especially if you have some attachment to this thing, you're thinking like, okay, how can I just ignore this existence in my reality, or the lack of this existence if you want it in your reality? Like, how can you just feel indifferent towards it? And that is where awareness and meditation comes in, because in order to actually change a reaction pattern, especially if it's very deeply ingrained in you, you have to just be aware of the fact that you're even reacting to this thing. Through the awareness of your reactions to this thing, and sometimes it can be the most subtlest reactions, right? It can be like a subtle doubt or a subtle belief that comes up that's kind of like sabotaging you and your manifestation. Like when that thing comes up, you just want to catch it and be aware of it. And then in that space of awareness, you have the choice to not react to it in the same way that you previously would. And basically, through not reacting to it, through just observing it and just letting it pass, letting it dissolve away, that is you undoing that reaction pattern. And when you undo that reaction pattern, you are basically just stopping the cycle of the karma from continuing to play out. Like if you react to it, that is basically you planting the next seed for this to then have a resulting effect in the future. But if you don't react to it, you're not planting a seed and you're just undoing that reaction pattern. And this reaction pattern is going to take time to play out, right? Like karma is going to take time to play out. Just because you didn't react to it once doesn't mean it's now all done, right? It's going to take time to unravel. And so every single time you're experiencing the thing, you just want to recognize that this is just old karma playing out. And in that moment, if you recognize that and you don't react to it, then you're going to allow that to play out and you're going to allow it to not continue in your future. And instead, if you react to things in the way that is in alignment with the reality that you want, then that is you planting new seeds. And that is also sometimes going to take time to play out, right? Like karma is not immediate. It's going to play out somehow in some future, but it's inevitably going to play out because that's just the law of cause and effect. And so sometimes when you're not seeing any change, you want to just remember this. Remember that there is a process of old karma, old reaction patterns, old effects that need to take place and play out and unravel itself. And it also takes time for the new seeds to start seeing its effect and for new karma to play out. And this basically ties into self-doubt and identity and self-concept. Because if you understand manifestation, you'll know that you do not manifest what you want, you manifest what you are. And what you are is the state of being that you're operating out of, which is a collection of your thoughts and your emotions, your energy, your frequency. Like all of these are your state of being, and that's what you're going to be manifesting and attracting. And if that's not in alignment with what you want, then you need to change that state of being. You need to change your identity, essentially, and your self-concept. But this takes time, right? It's really hard to just like immediately switch into a new identity and a new self-concept. That's very hard, especially if your previous one was so deeply ingrained in you. And so this is where the whole idea of like reaction patterns really makes sense. It's that when you're shifting into a new identity, you need to allow the previous identity to unravel itself. And whenever you feel doubt, you need to recognize that this is just the old identity trying to reassert itself. But if you continue to give energy to that old identity by reacting in the same way as that old identity, then that is not going to allow it to unravel itself. That is basically you just reinforcing that old identity, and you're going to be pulled back into that old version. But if you don't react to it and you just recognize that, okay, this is just my old identity trying to come back, and then you just don't give it any energy and just acting indifferent towards it, then you're going to allow that to unravel itself and fade away. And then that's when you allow yourself to shift into the new identity. And that's why when you're in that in-between phase of trying to outgrow the old identity and shift into the new one, it's very hard because there is a lot of resistance that's going on, right? Like you're having this old identity that's trying to, pull you back, and then you have this new identity that you're trying to grow into, but you haven't yet fully reinforced those reaction patterns and creating the resulting effects of the seeds that you're planting. Like that's why it's going to be so hard in that in-between phase. But the main thing is to just recognize that you are in that in-between phase, and it's going to take some time to fully shift over. But if you do not give power to the old version of you and you continue giving energy and power to the new one, then that is how you're going to be able to successfully shift over to this new identity. And once you're in that new identity, you are then in a new state of being. So that means your thoughts, your emotions, your energy, your frequency, like all of these things, your actions essentially are going to be different. And with different actions, you're going to have different seeds, right? This is the cause and effect of karma and manifestation. It's just inevitable that it's going to play out this way. So if you're trying to manifest something, but you feel like it's not working, then maybe take a look at how you are reacting to your reality and how are you reacting to the fact that this isn't in your reality. Like, are you reacting in a way where you're like, oh yeah, it's not working or something? Like you're continuing to feed the energy into reinforcing the reality that this doesn't exist in your reality. Like if you do that, then you're basically reinforcing that reality and it's never going to come into reality, or it's going to have a hard time coming into reality. But if you react to the circumstances in a way where it's in alignment with that thing existing in your reality, you kind of have to be a bit delusional in this phase. Then that is when you allow the seeds to be planted so that you are embodying the state of being to allow this thing to come in. That's why they say you need to be delusional to manifest, because when you're in that in-between phase, it requires some delusion to jump over fully into the new identity and the new version of you that does have that thing that you're trying to manifest, because that is just a totally different state of being. So I really hope that made sense. I almost didn't make this video because honestly, it's kind of a complicated idea that was existing in my head for the longest time, and I didn't know how to explain it in a way where it can make sense to other people in the same way where it made sense and really clicked for me. So yeah, let me know if this made sense to you and if it helped. Okay, thanks for listening. Bye.